There was a time when fashion had no rules, just bold colors, wild fabrics, and choices that make us wonder what we were thinking. From disco nights to mall hangouts, every decade brought its own strange style statements that somehow became iconic. So grab your neon jacket and dust off those platform shoes, because we are diving back into the fashion trends from the 1970s to the 1990s that made absolutely no sense, yet we loved every second of them. Bell bottoms that hid your shoes were the ultimate fashion statement of the 1970s. They started as a counterculture trend, a way for the youth to rebel against stiff, straight-cut pants. Before long, everyone, from rock stars to high schoolers, was walking around in flared denim so wide you could barely see their shoes. They swished dramatically with every step, creating a kind of rhythm as people strutted through malls and discos. They looked cool, sure, but practicality was not their strength. Rain turned them into sponges, dirt collected at the hems, and they made tripping a common hazard. Still, something about those exaggerated flares captured the free-spirited energy of the decade. And while they ruled the dance floors, another look was making its way into everyday life. Something a little smoother, but just as questionable. Unbreathable polyester suits became the uniform of the 1970s man who wanted to look both classy and casual. The polyester leisure suit was shiny, stretchy, and often pastel, like a disco ball decided to become clothing. It was meant to scream sophistication, but it usually just made people sweat under the club lights. The fabric refused to breathe, trapping heat and turning dance moves into survival challenges. Still, it became a symbol of status. If you had one, you were someone. They were loud, proud, and impossible to ignore. But while these suits made people look slick, the next trend literally lifted fashion to new heights. Sky-high platform shoes were the definition of daring. Everyone wanted to be taller, flashier, and a little more outrageous. Some platforms added 2 inches, others added 6. They came in glitter, suede, or rainbow-colored plastic. People wore them to clubs, concerts, and even grocery stores, balancing like acrobats just to stay upright. It was fashion mixed with danger, and everyone accepted the risk. A misstep meant a twisted ankle, but the payoff was undeniable style. Musicians loved them, fans copied them, and suddenly it seemed like no one wanted to touch the ground. But while feet were reaching for the sky, the next trend focused on shining just as bright up top. Mirror-like disco shirts were the flashy heart of nightlife in the late 1970s. They reflected every beam of light on the dance floor, turning whoever wore them into a walking disco ball. Usually made from satin or polyester, these shirts clung to the body and came in every bold color imaginable: electric blue, cherry red, gold, and silver. They looked fantastic under neon lights, but slightly absurd anywhere else. Every move you made sparkled, every spin turned heads. It was pure confidence mixed with chaos. But when the music stopped, the shine faded fast. Still, disco fashion was never about subtlety. It was about being unforgettable. And if shirts could shine, why not push fashion even further by wearing less of it altogether? Gravity-defying tube tops were as impractical as they were iconic. These stretchy bands of fabric somehow stayed in place, most of the time without straps or structure. Popular through the late 1970s and roaring back in the 1980s, tube tops were summer's boldest fashion choice. They came in metallics, stripes, or terry cloth, and were often paired with high-waisted shorts or flared jeans. Everyone loved them, even if everyone also feared a wardrobe malfunction. It was daring, youthful, and a little bit rebellious. Just the right mix for an era built on breaking fashion rules. But while tube tops left shoulders bare, the next trend covered everything, especially in shades of brown that only the 1970s could love. Brown corduroy pants were everywhere in the late 1970s and early 1980s. They were thick, heavy, and came in shades that looked like they were pulled straight from a forest floor: rust brown, mustard yellow, and olive green. The corduroy texture made a distinct swish sound when you walked, like your legs were having their own private conversation. They were warm, durable, and absolutely unflattering in certain lighting. Yet somehow every kid had a pair, and every adult pretended they were stylish. It was the kind of trend that made no sense, but felt oddly comforting, like wrapping yourself in a carpet. Still, the one thing missing from corduroy pants was flash, and that is where the next trend came strutting in with all the shine you could imagine. Satin eagle jackets were loud, proud, and impossible to miss. These glossy jackets often came with embroidered eagles, names, or team logos stitched on the back, because subtlety was not an option. They shimmered under streetlights, reflected in mirrors, and squeaked when you moved. Everyone from athletes to rock band fans owned one. They made you feel like a star, even if you were just walking to class. The shine, the texture, the oversized fit, it all screamed confidence. They were fashion statements that said, "I have arrived." But just when the world thought jackets could not get any flashier, another trend came along that made style sound louder than ever. Squeaky velour tracksuits were the cozy chaos of the late 1970s and early 1980s. They were soft to touch but impossible to ignore. Every move made a faint whoosh sound, and somehow that became part of the charm. These matching sets came in jewel tones, deep red, royal blue, emerald green, and were worn everywhere, at home, at the mall, or even out for dinner. They blurred the line between comfort and style long before athleisure became a word. Celebrities wore them, parents loved them, and kids grew up sliding across couches in them. Velour made people feel luxurious, even if they looked like walking curtains. But if clothes could squeak, hair could make an even louder statement. And the next trend took that idea to new heights. Feathered architectural hair defined the late 1970s and early 1980s. Inspired by stars like Farrah Fawcett, it was all about layers, volume, and movement. It looked effortless, but took serious time, hairspray, and determination to perfect. People would spend hours with brushes and blow dryers, creating waves that seemed to defy gravity. Once styled, the hair would barely move, locked into place by entire clouds of aerosol spray. It was part fashion, part engineering. Everyone wanted that bounce, that wind-blown perfection, that movie star moment. Feathered hair made even a grocery trip feel like a photo shoot. But while the hair was big and free, the next trend doubled down on structure, and denim was about to take over from head to toe. Proud Canadian tuxedos, denim on denim, became one of the most confusing fashion statements of the 1980s and 1990s. It started innocently enough, a jean jacket paired with jeans. But before long, people were matching denim shirts, jackets, and pants like it was a uniform. Light wash, dark wash. It did not matter. The more denim, the better. It was casual, rebellious, and a little bit ridiculous. Yet, somehow, celebrities and musicians made it cool. It became an unspoken challenge. How much denim could one outfit handle? The answer was always too much. Still, for all its chaos, the Canadian tuxedo remains a nostalgic reminder of when fashion was more about fun than perfection. And speaking of unnecessary accessories, the next trend literally wrapped itself around your neck without a single purpose. Useless fancy scarves were one of those trends that looked sophisticated, but served no real purpose. These thin silk or polyester scarves were not meant for warmth or comfort. They were accessories of pure attitude. Wrapped around the neck, tied in a knot, or draped loosely over a blouse, they screamed fashion in capital letters, even if they did nothing else. Both men and women wore them, channeling movie star energy in everyday life. They fluttered dramatically in the breeze, and that was exactly the point. It was all about appearance, style over substance. And while these scarves added flair to any outfit, the next fashion choice went in the complete opposite direction. bold, loud, and leaving absolutely nothing to the imagination. Too short shorts defined summer fashion in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Whether made from denim, nylon, or terry cloth, these shorts were shockingly small. They were gym wear, beach wear, and sometimes even everyday wear. Men wore them just as proudly as women did, often paired with knee-high socks and sneakers. They made running easier, but sitting a real challenge. Somehow, the less fabric you had, the cooler you looked, or so the logic went. These shorts became a cultural symbol of confidence and carefree living. But while the bottoms were getting shorter, the top half of fashion was about to expand, dramatically. Runway-sized shoulder pads stormed the 1980s like armor for the modern world. They gave everyone a squared, powerful silhouette, perfect for an era obsessed with ambition and success. From business suits to evening dresses, shoulder pads became a staple. The idea was to look strong, commanding, and professional. But in reality, many people ended up looking like they were preparing for takeoff. These padded peaks exaggerated every outfit, transforming ordinary jackets into statements of authority. It was fashion's way of saying, "I mean business," even if you were just going grocery shopping. But if shoulder pads made people look like superheroes, the next accessory took things back to earth, with a hat that no actual painter ever touched. Painters' caps were one of the strangest fashion fads of the 1980s. Originally workwear for real painters, they became a quirky streetwear item thanks to pop culture and promotional giveaways. They were lightweight, floppy, and often printed with random logos, brands, or bright patterns. Kids wore them backwards, sideways, or perched awkwardly on top of their hair. They did not protect you from the sun, they barely fit your head, and yet they were cool. It was the kind of trend that spread for no clear reason, other than the fact that everyone else was doing it. But if painters' caps were strange, the next trend took too much to a whole new level. One wash at a time. Acid wash overload hit like a denim storm in the late 1980s. Jeans, jackets, hats, even backpacks were bleached into wild patterns that looked like a laundry accident gone right. The more uneven and splotchy the look, the better. It gave denim a rebellious, worn-in edge that made every outfit feel unique. Bands, skaters, and everyday teens embraced it as a symbol of attitude and energy. The trend was messy, unpredictable, and loud, just like the decade itself. But as the acid wash craze started to fade, another fashion item rose up that promised exclusivity and coolness in a single zipper. Members-only cool jackets became the ultimate badge of belonging in the 1980s, with their signature epaulets, tight waistband, and that little logo on the chest. These jackets were all about attitude. They were sleek, they were fitted, and they were marketed as the jacket for people in the know. Every commercial made you feel like if you did not own one, you were missing out on an exclusive club of coolness. Celebrities, rock stars, and even everyday teens wore them to school dances and malls. The irony? Everyone had one, so no one was really that exclusive. Still, the members-only jacket became a snapshot of 1980s ego and style, combining casual wear with a mysterious edge. But while that jacket looked good, zipped up, the next trend was all about warming up legs that were not even cold. Leg warmers became the dance-inspired craze that nobody asked for. Originally made for ballerinas to keep their muscles from cramping, they somehow ended up on everyone from joggers to TV hosts, usually worn over leggings or jeans. These thick knitted tubes came in every color imaginable and were more about fashion than function. Thanks to the explosion of aerobics culture and movies like Flashdance, leg warmers became the ultimate accessory for showing off that fit lifestyle. Even if the only workout was changing the TV channel, they served no real purpose, but they did make your outfit look energetic and fun. And while leg warmers hugged your calves, the next big trend wrapped around your waist with storage that was practical but far from pretty. Fanny packs were perhaps the most confusing combination of convenience and fashion ever created. Worn proudly around the waist, These zippered pouches were perfect for holding keys, money, and random junk, but they made everyone look like a confused tourist. No matter how trendy the brand or pattern, the shape was just awkward. Still, they became essential for theme park trips, shopping malls, and outdoor events where having free hands was a must. For a brief moment, it was cool to strap one on, and then just as quickly, it wasn't. Yet, as much as people mocked them, fanny packs never really disappeared. They went underground, waiting for their ironic comeback decades later. But before that revival, the 1980s had another fashion experiment that was impossible to ignore, especially because you could hear it coming. Parachute pants were noisy, shiny, and absolutely everywhere in the breakdancing era. Made of nylon that crinkled with every move, these pants were baggy at the top, tight at the ankles, and full of unnecessary zippers and straps. They were perfect for dancers because of their flexibility, but that did not stop everyone else from wearing them too. Suddenly, suburban kids who had never stepped foot on a dance floor were rocking these metallic monstrosities at school. They were hot, uncomfortable, and louder than your sneakers squeaking in the hallway. But in the 1980s, louder was better, and parachute pants were proof. Still, if you thought those pants made you stand out, the next trend revealed even more than people wanted to see. Literally. Hypercolor shirts were the ultimate science experiment gone wrong. These color-changing tees reacted to heat, meaning that body warmth or sweat could make the fabric shift shades right before your eyes. It sounded amazing in theory, but in reality, it betrayed every bit of human temperature. A handshake, a hug, or even a hot day could turn your shirt into a mood ring of embarrassment. Kids loved the magic, adults cringed at the practicality, and parents just hoped the color would not fade in the wash. It was the perfect mix of curiosity and chaos, a wearable gimmick that burned bright and fast. And after those shirts revealed a little too much, the next fashion statement tried to blind the world in a totally different way, with colors so bright they could stop traffic. Windbreakers in the late 1980s and early 1990s were not just jackets. They were neon billboards with sleeves. Made from shiny, lightweight nylon, these windbreakers came in every possible color combination. Hot pink with lime green, electric blue with purple, even orange with turquoise. The louder, the better. It was like everyone wanted to be visible from space. Whether you were jogging, rollerblading, or just hanging out at the mall, these jackets made sure the world saw you coming. They crinkled with every move and reflected light like a disco ball under the sun. But what made them truly iconic was their confidence. Wearing one meant you did not care if you matched. You just wanted to stand out. Still, as the neon faded, another trend arrived that was all about layers, and it made socks the star of the show. Slouch socks stacked up like fluffy clouds around your ankles. They were thick, cozy, and most importantly, dramatic. The trick was to wear not one, but 2 or even 3 pairs at once, folding and scrunching them over leggings or jeans. It was a look straight out of aerobics videos and high school hallways. They came in pastel colors, white, or sometimes with stripes that screamed retro chic. The more volume, the better. Girls wore them with sneakers or even heels, while guys tried to act like it was not a big deal. But it totally was. Slouch socks made your legs look fun, sporty, and casual all at once. But while these socks were soft and quiet, the next accessory added a metallic edge that you could hear jingling from down the hall. Chain wallets were equal parts rebellion and practicality. They were popular among skaters, bikers, and anyone who wanted to look tough while keeping their wallets safe. The chain connected the wallet to your belt loop, turning every step into a rhythmic clink of metal. It was both an accessory and a soundtrack. These chains varied in size, from thin and sleek to thick enough to tow a car. They gave off a rough, anti-establishment vibe, even if all you had inside were movie tickets and a few dollar bills. Chain wallets said, "I might cause trouble, but I'll still pay for my burger." But after all that metal and noise, the next fashion trend took things in a totally opposite direction: soft, colorful, and surprisingly sticky. Jelly shoes were a strange mix of childhood whimsy and adult regret. Made from translucent, flexible plastic, these sandals came in bright, candy-like colors: pink, blue, purple, even glittery gold. They looked playful and innocent until you wore them outside on a hot day. Then they turned into mini greenhouses for your feet, sticking to your skin and squeaking with every step. Still, they were cheap, fun, and matched every summer outfit. Every kid had at least one pair, and adults soon joined the trend too. But while jelly shoes melted in the sun, the next craze melted minds. A hairstyle so wild it became a cultural punchline for decades. Mullet haircuts were the ultimate contradiction. Business in the front, party in the back. They combined clean, shortcuts with long, flowing locks that broke every rule of balance and proportion. From rock stars to athletes, everyone seemed to think this look was pure genius. It was bold, rebellious, and unapologetically loud. The mullet was more than a hairstyle. It was an attitude. You could show up to work looking neat from the front, but as soon as you turned around, the party started. It defined the 1980s spirit of excess, confidence, and complete disregard for subtlety. But while mullets made headlines, the next trend tried to hide from the sun, literally with shades that looked cool but barely worked. Fashion may have lost its mind a few times, but that is exactly what made it unforgettable. If you remember rocking any of these wild looks, drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe for more nostalgic trips through the trends that time tried to forget.